Welcome to CONEXEC, a global leadership platform for construction executives. Today, we have Matt Ellis, and this is kind of a different one. Matt actually is the Vice President of Operations for ACE Consulting. Rather than, I think Matt deals with the day and day more than I do at this point, and I think he's a prime person to interview for this podcast. So a lot of people know you, Matt. I know you, but act like I don't know you, because we have about 1,500 people or so that listen to this podcast, and some people may not know who you are. So kind of tell us about yourself, your background, where you grew up, and kind of tell us about ACE Consulting a little bit.
Okay, so I was born and raised here in Lexington, and when I graduated high school, went to the military, went into the Air Force, which I catch a lot of flack from you, being a Navy guy. But we're having a
Air Force even a branch of service? I didn't know it was a branch of service.
It depends on who you ask.
Okay.
It depends on who you ask. So I graduated high school, went to the Air Force. I did 4 years in the Air Force. Got out, came back here to Lexington, went into the Pacific Theater, did some time in Korea, Thailand, Japan. My main station was in Alaska. So got back here to Lexington, and my whole goal and ambition had been I wanted to go to school and kind of determine my path forward and what I wanted to do from there. And so I enrolled in college, started going down that road, and didn't really know exactly what I had wanted to do initially. I started as a business major, and I didn't know if that was really an avenue that I would want to go down, per se. And so I happened to be looking on EKU's website, and I found the construction management program at EKU. And I thought, man, that sounds pretty cool. I'd always enjoyed, being outside and being outdoors and, building things, doing things with my hands. I thought, man, that seems pretty cool. I could see myself doing that. So did a little exploration on it and decided that was the route that I wanted to go. So enrolled at EKU, went there. That's where I first ended up meeting you. When you first started at EKU. I was, junior, maybe senior. I was, kind of in my upperclassmen years there. But
were you impressed by my good looks?
Yeah, I have to say that I was. Okay. It was hard not to be infatuated,
Yeah,
so
I hear you.
But yeah. But no, so I graduated EKU, started working for a local company whenever I graduated here in Lexington, and kept in contact with you pretty well. And after a few years, I was a newlywed. My wife and I had gotten married in 2010. Sometime in 2011, you had approached me about an opportunity in North Carolina, and that was initially an opportunity to go to North Carolina for 2 years. We didn't have kids at the time, my wife and I, so we thought, hey, what the heck, let's give it a shot. And that 2-year project turned into a 7-year project. But I wouldn't change anything about it. I enjoyed the people that I worked with down there. I thoroughly enjoyed what I did. And so the whole time that I was down there, I was starting to do things in addition to my regular job duties. I was starting to do things on the side for ACE. So ACE was still, pretty young and pretty in its infancy at that point. I shouldn't say in its infancy, but it was, a few years in at that point, and it was mainly you doing the bulk of the work and, a few outside consultants doing things. And so I started doing a lot of the plan work and the scheduling, and I really took a liking to that as well, that aspect of it, and understanding how the federal government construction arena kind of works. And so, one thing led to another, and it's more and more work is coming in. My project is finally ending in North Carolina, and we said you were still teaching at EKU at the time, and you had asked if I would be interested in teaching at EKU. So I said, you know what, we can work a few doors down, run the business, a few doors apart. Not something that we had been able to do at that point yet, because we were 800 miles apart or whatever. We had to do all of our business dealings over the phone. And so went to EKU, was at EKU teaching for not very long, whenever we had an epiphany that, and I think I want to go into this more a little bit later, but we had an epiphany that why should we just devote half of our time, half of our time to EKU and then half of our time to ACE? Why not devote our full attention to ACE? And it was nothing against EKU, but we actually thought that we could be more impactful to EKU and to the construction industry by, focusing our full-time efforts on the business. And so in 2017, we both resigned from EKU and came on full-time with ACE. We opened up a physical office space, and the rest is kind of history. It's blown up from there. I mean, we've gone from, we have a 3,000 square foot office in Nicholasville, Kentucky, that when we first moved in, we thought, man, this will get us for the next 10 years. And it hasn't been able to sustain us for 2 without having to branch out to Louisville and Winchester. So that's kind of a testament to, how the business has been going for us. On a personal level, I'm married. My wife Jessica and I have been married it'll be 10 years actually this year. We were married in 2010. We have 2 kids. I have a 6-year-old son that'll be 7 in a few months, and a 3-year-old daughter that'll be 4 in a few months, and then a 3rd child on the way that will be due in April 15th, tax day. So, but yeah, that's kind of my background and how it's progressed with ACE. As far as what ACE is and what ACE does, ACE is a construction consulting company, and we got our start mainly in the federal construction side. And for those of you that aren't aware or don't know, federal government construction it can be difficult if you're not aware of the requirements and what you have to do to even be able to get mobilized on site. They have the biggest checkbook in the world, and that's great because you are going to get paid for your work so long as you do your work. But it can absolutely bury people if you're not aware. They require, just like any other government agency, they require a substantial amount of paperwork and, schedules and plans and things like that from the get-go, before you can even mobilize the site. So that was kind of how ACE got started with a customer that had come to you with a specific government requirement. And we turned that one government requirement into, we had a list of 50 different types of plans and services and things that we can do for the federal government now, but also we branched that into the commercial sector, into the private construction industry. So the consulting side is kind of where we picked up and really started running. That was doing accident prevention plans, safety plans. Our bread and butter on the pre-construction side is definitely scheduling. We have staffed ourselves. We have staffed ACE with a team of high-level schedulers that they're really good at what they do and can really go out and knock it out for people, and get that requirement satisfied. And the advantage on the scheduling piece of it is that schedules are universal across construction. It's not specific to the federal government. It is a little more difficult, on the federal government side, but it's not just specific to them. So we do that across the board for private and federal. Things like accident prevention plans, safety plans, quality controls, erosion control plans, and stormwater pollution and prevention plans. Those things are heavy federal government focused, outside of the stormwater pollution prevention plan. But we've grown our that pre-construction side into a pretty sizable business, its own little entity, if you will, inside of ACE, doing that side. Another requirement that we see pretty frequently on federal government construction projects are the need for designated site safety officers, quality control managers, superintendents, project managers, project engineers. They are very explicit in their specifications about having those things and about, what kind of qualifications that they have. And, a lot of people don't necessarily staff those individuals on staff. They have a unique skill set. They've got a specific bit of experience in that arena. And so a lot of people don't keep them on staff. It's difficult for them to find. So we have a team basically now of recruiters, developers, relationship builders on our field side that they go out and they develop relationships with clients and and personnel that could be supers, quality control managers, safeties, whatever it might be. So they build those relationships. We vet them. We have a pretty stringent vetting process on that field side, and we get asked to come in and assist with providing the personnel for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a year, 2 years, 7 years, like my project, whatever it might be, and we're able to do that and put somebody to work, get somebody putting food on the table for their family, and also at the same time satisfy a need for a client that we have. And then that also kind of expands into the commercial side with our superintendents. We have a number. We still are heavy on the federal side, but we have a number of superintendents, project managers, project engineers that are on private construction and or commercial construction. Various companies all over the place. So all told, we maintain anywhere between 50 and 60 people out in the field. We call it out in the field. These are representing us across the United States. We've had someone in every state and internationally. We've had people in Guam, Germany, Greenland, all over the place. And so the bulk of them now in the United States, but every state. We have people in Alaska right now. We have people in Hawaii and everywhere in between. So we got those two main pieces of the business. And then the last kind of smaller piece that we do is training. So we have a lot of people with heavy construction backgrounds that work for us that have gotten a lot of these bulky requirements, if you will, for federal government projects. And so we do training with fall protection training, confined space training, OSHA 30, OSHA 10, a variety of different types of training for construction, companies. Scheduling training is another big one that we do. So those are the three big pieces of the business. My job is to make sure that that's operating smoothly on a day-to-day basis. That that if any issues that are brought to me or delegated, or not should be delegated, elevated to me, that I am able to handle those quickly and efficiently, and make sure that at the end of the day we're providing the best possible experience for the customer that we can provide. And so that's kind of what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, and that's kind of in a nutshell, a long-winded nutshell of what ACE does as a company.
So I know I have this question later, but this seems like a prime time to kind of ask it. So what's the future of ACE?
So we follow an what's called an EOS model, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and that's kind of a thing that sparked a big change in the business. And kind of going back to when I talked about leaving from EKU in 2017, the big thing that sparked that was you being at a leadership group that practiced EOS and getting that difficult question. And that's the point of it, to ask the difficult questions. And so one of the things that EOS does is it has you put together your core values, your mission, your vision, all these different things to really have everybody hyper-focus on one direction. So everybody's rowing in the same way, in the same direction. And part of that is your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan. So in 2017, we came up with a 5-year plan. Where do we want to be in 5 years? Where do we want to be in 10 years? So on and so forth. So our 5-year plan, so by 2022, 2 years from now, we want to be a $20 million company, $20 million in gross revenue as a company. And we individually break that out per sector of the business, for field, and then for pre-con and training and so on. So we inside of that 5-year plan, we broke that down into year-by-year metrics, and then obviously from there we break it down into monthly metrics, weekly metrics, so that every little thing, it's almost like a TP. Every little thing, every little metric, always laser focuses up to one key metric per year, or per 5 year, a milestone that we're looking to achieve. So that's our 5-year plan, is to get at $20 million. Our 10-year plan is to be a $50 million company. And so there's a variety of reasons, for that. We want to, what we can do, the lives that we can change. And, a part of our vision is, our vision is that we're in the business of building the kingdom. We are a Christian-based company, and part of part of what we believe in is not just about how much, how big can we get this thing and how much money we can make, but we understand that the larger that this thing is, the more impactful we can be, both to employees and people that work to us, and for outside endeavors that we do that I'll go into later. As far as donations, charitable donations, giving back to our church, giving back to our community. And so in 10 years, we want to be a $50 million company. We have discussed, exit strategy for yourself, Scott, and, how that looks in the 10-year range. And so that's kind of part of what we shoot to assist you to walk away, put your hands up and finally walk away and be free and clear of it. And, we take it into the next generation from there.
So tell us about, and I have some inside information, obviously, but tell us about TAG.
Okay, so what we have decided, we have kind of how I broke out the business earlier, where I talked about how we have field and we have training and we have pre-con. If you look at a typical construction company, generally you might see them break out into a couple entities. Maybe they have a design wing, maybe they have a construction wing, or they have a concrete division and a steel division or something like that. So they're usually kind of wrapped up into one or two, or so divisions. What we kind of discovered is that we have a lot of different avenues to what we do, a lot of different revenue streams. Obviously, field is a big one, training is a big one, and pre-con. But we're also working on what's called our GSA. So GSA is one of the heaviest spenders in government construction. They allocate billions of dollars in funds every year to a variety of construction. It could be on the consulting side. So we are in the process of getting our GSA schedule approved. Well, when that's approved, that becomes a division, a sector of this whole thing. Right. And so then we have that. We have our training piece, our pre-con piece, our field piece. We have our construction piece. So we have an ability to be bonded now. We have gone through the process. We can be bonded for construction. Early on in ACE's infancy, ACE was a construction company, and doing some VA work in and around Nashville, up and around Lexington. That's something that we are exploring and getting back to. We've got somebody that's looking at that. So what we had looked at and decided was, okay, we have, all these people, we have all these variety of different companies. We need to try to create a system, an organizational structure that captures what everybody's responsibility is within each individual company. So we created a company called TAG, which is short for the ACE Group. And basically all the ACE companies, all the ACE subsidiaries are going to roll up into TAG. So it's kind of like that TP effect that I talked about earlier. Everybody's going to everyone's going to roll up to a single authority and or responsibility within the company, which will be you. You'll be the president, CEO of TAG. I'll be the chief operations officer. I'll be the president of ACE. And then we have a variety of different people throughout the company that are going to be presidents of those individual companies that roll into TAG. So, we'll have a one guy with specific gentleman in charge of our GSA services, GSA and governmental services. We have a specific person in charge of training, the field services, the pre-con services, the construction piece. They ultimately will all fall under the TAG umbrella, the TAG company, if you will.
So what do you think, and I'm interested to hear this because, we've worked together for, a long time, but from your perspective, what do you think is the most significant event that has shaped the business model of ACE?
So I elaborated on it a little bit earlier, but I believe it was us implementing EOS, and I kind of equate it to, it rolls up to EOS, but I look at it as two significant events. The first significant event being, hey, we're going to quit focusing half of our time on ACE and half of our time on EKU, and we're just going to go focus on ACE. And I think the fruit of that labor has just been shown like crazy. When we left from EKU, we were, not small by any means. You know, we're a good sized company, but we have grown by 50% in revenue, and I think 50 back-to-back years of 50% in revenue, which is pretty substantial. And so that was one significant event. And then to kind of piggyback on that one, implementing the EOS modeling was significant for our company. And the reason I believe it was is because it made us look at, okay, what is our vision and our mission? You know, we didn't have that. We didn't have that listed at all. And, you know, we had some consultants come in and give us some advice on certain things. And at one point we were calling our vision what our mission statement would be. We had it all backwards. And, you know, I was skeptical. You know, I was like, well, what's the point of having a vision and a mission? I don't understand how that's going to really help us in any way. You know, what's that going to do? And I'm a huge proponent now of having that. And the reason is because you get buy-in and you get everyone to agree to what is your mission and what is your vision. We have it on our walls here in the office. We recite it at meetings, and, you know, we make sure that everyone understands it. And the reason is because it's a belief system that we have. And so if someone's not on board with our vision or our mission, it's difficult for them to fit into what we do as an organization. And so it's about getting everybody rowing in that same direction. If everybody believes in the same vision, believes in the same mission, we're all rowing in the same direction, and we're streamlined, you know, going down the same path. And that's been a significant event for us. It really has.
And you know, the funny thing about EOS is that, and for people who don't know about it, is, you know, you kind of have, you know, when we didn't have a vision and mission written down, we knew what we were all about. We just didn't articulate it, you know, and you know, if you walked around our company and talked to people, people knew what we were all about, but it was not consistent. And I know that we discovered that, gosh, man, when you have people stretched out all over the world like we do, it's important that you have a good value set, you know, so that everybody knows what perspective we are, you know, so because we don't see the guys in the field every day, so it's important they understand where we come from. I also wanted to, you mentioned the vision. You didn't mention our mission statement or our core values.
Okay, so yeah, our vision is we're in the business of building the kingdom. Our mission is using our Christian values, we make project administration easy for our clients. So basically what we're saying is that we are going to make it painful or painless for you as a client. You come to us because you have a need. You don't want to have to, like I had kind of talked about a little bit earlier with the federal government, their requirements can be very difficult. They can be very stressful for somebody that's just trying to get in and get going. Our role in that and initially getting you going is pretty critical, because you can't mobilize, you can't bill and get that first payment off of your first invoice until there's a certain amount of plans, schedule, so on and so forth approved. So we want to make it, our goal is to make it as easy as possible. And like, that's one of the things that we recite, like I said, at our meetings. Are we making, you know, are we using our mission to make it easy on this customer through our accounts receivable, through our field, through our pre-com, whatever it might be? Everybody has to try to keep in mind, are we making it as easy on them as possible? We want them to turn this over to us, and we say, we got this. You take a deep breath and you focus your energy and your efforts on something else for your company. We'll take care of this for you. You're not going to have any problems. If there is any issues that arise or come back, we will handle them. You know, we'll get them taken care of, no problem. And that kind of leads into what our core values are. So we have an acronym for our core values called RUG, and it stands for doing the right thing, being the gold standard in what we do, and having an extreme sense of urgency. And I went RGU, but it's RUG. You know, they're interchangeable. There's no one that's any more important than the other, but all three of them are as equally as important. Doing the right thing for us is, construction has been, in the past, has been known as an industry where some unethical, some shady things can happen. It doesn't, you know, construction has a bad rap for that, and rightfully so. You know, there are things that I've seen, that I know that you have seen, Scott, that kind of make you scratch your head, and you're just like, well, man, that's an interesting way to do something.
And what's funny about that too is it's not just seeing these things. They're not just like one-off things. This is like a systematic, effort of unethical behavior, and I mean,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm not talking about any individual company, but there's some things that we think are acceptable in construction that in other businesses it wouldn't be.
Right. No, absolutely. It's unfortunate, but it happens in the construction industry. So we are trying to do our part to kind of change that, kind of tilt that paradigm a little bit a different way. So doing the right thing for us, doing the right thing means even if there's an opportunity that we're going to lose money, if it's the right thing to do, we're going to do it. And we have lost money by having that core value. But at the end of the day, we know that we're going to be judged on our actions. We can't control the actions of other individuals, other companies. All we can do is say, hey, did we in our heart of hearts do the right thing? And if we believe that, we've upheld that core value for ourselves. And so we practice that one, extensively. It's critical that it's critical belief system for us in our core values. Our second one is having a sense of urgency. And that one kind of goes into, I keep harping on the difficulty of these federal government requirements, and even for that matter, a private company. But if someone calls us, generally when someone calls us, they're in a extreme situation of need. And hey, I have to have this schedule back tomorrow. I have to have this. I need somebody out here tomorrow, or my job gets shut down. And so we have thrived on saying, okay, we got you. There's been plenty of times when I've worked until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to get something right for a customer and get that back to them. And I think that goes, and 80% of our business is repeat business. And I think that's a key example why. There are other companies in our industry that have 3, 4, 5, 6 week lead times on schedules, plans, whatever it might be. We're not telling our guys that they can never sleep, and it comes in ebbs and flows. There are busy seasons, but we understand as a company that if we get something, we can't just sit on it, that we have to do everything in our power to complete it as quickly and as efficiently as possible, because people are relying on us, could be relying on us for money, for payment, they're hanging on by a thread. People are relying on us for that. So that's kind of where our urgency piece comes in. And then our gold standard is pretty straightforward. We just want to be, and we have the resources and the people here at our company to be the gold standard in what we do. We have expert witness capabilities. We have people that call us just to, hey, I need your opinion on this. What would you do in this situation? And that comes from, if you add up, your federal construction and construction experience, mine, Paul's, Ross's, Josh's, Dustin's, so, go on down the line. It's multiple decades, probably over 100 years. And so we've seen a lot of things, and, we are able to kind of take that expertise and knowledge and put that to our work and, show ourselves as being the gold standard. So.
Well, and you mentioned about like customer service, and people have heard me say this several different times during our podcast, but that's something that's lost in our industry. And when you look at Amazon, and my guys are sick and tired of hearing me say this, but when you look at Amazon, Jeff Bezos is not, the richest man in the world for no reason. He's the richest man in the world because he understands how business is, and he says that everyone needs to be customer obsessed, obsessed with their customer and their needs. And that's something that we talk about consistently. And honestly, everybody does a good job on that. So changing gears here, what do you think personally, skills and abilities that you have that have helped the business?
I believe that construction experience is a big one. Being out there. Now I've been in the construction industry now for 13 years, which is by no means the most anybody, out there has been in, but you see a lot in 13 years. And so, coming in and being able to I was fortunate. My project in North Carolina, like I said, it went from a 2 to a 7 year project, But the advantage to that is that I had everything that could possibly be in the book thrown at me in that time. It was chock full of delays, time impact analysis, just, hundreds and hundreds of RFIs and design issues. And so every day something else, some kind of other curveball was getting thrown at you, and you had to adapt and, kind of try to overcome that. So I think a big piece of it is my experience in the construction industry, and being able to kind of lead with that and say, well, this is what I did in a similar situation that something worked out well or positive. My qualities, I pride myself on aligning with our core values. And so, doing the right thing, that's where I am. That's what I believe in doing. Part of that kind of goes into my faith. That's why I like working with a company that is a Christian-based company, is not afraid to put it out there. Our values kind of align with that. So, I try to lead with that. I try to get better every day as a leader. I want people to look up to me. And, I'm a firm believer that if, you want folks that are going to, like being out on the battlefield, you want people that are going to be in that foxhole with you, fighting and doing whatever they got to do, and looking to you to say, okay, what's our next move? What are we doing now? And you have that answer, and you have that, the gall to go out and make that call and say, yep, this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to stand by it. And so I would say those are probably my biggest three qualities.
Well, and not to pat you on the back, Matt, because I don't like doing that, but I'm just joking. So the fact is that and what I saw in you more than anything, and I always tell this story, and Matt's sick and tired of hearing me tell this story, but I'm telling this anyhow because most people don't know. One of the reasons I selected Matt was because when he was in college, he was in college the first year I taught at EKU, and that was the last semester. And he was in my scheduling class, and I gave him a grade. And after I handed back the paper, and he came up to me after class and said, "Hey, on Blackboard, you gave me an A, but I really only earned a B." And that made a significant impact upon me personally, because I thought to myself, here's somebody that had nothing but to benefit just by shutting his mouth, but he did the right thing. That was a very important thing, but as important, or maybe not, maybe a little less important, is your ability to kind of, I mean, you can learn. You don't need to be, fed with a spoon. You can figure out how to get stuff done, even if you haven't done it before. And people call it being teachable, but truly I just think it's called having initiative, and that's something that's not common. And that's one of the reasons, I mean, you're the vice president of operations for this company, and you're almost 40, and I can't believe you're almost 40, but
Me either.
I know that's the reason you've been so successful, is because you're just a go-getter. So now I'm done saying anything nice about you, but now I want to kind of jump into advice. So this podcast is listened by a lot of people that either are construction executives, but we have a population of people that are just aspiring. What advice would you give them professionally? And then on the flip side of that, what advice would you give personally?
So I would say, and this one is cliche, but I believe in it, and you just kind of alluded to it. Hard work works. If you're willing to get down into the nitty gritty and do anything and absolutely everything necessary to be successful, and if that means not sleeping as much, whatever that means, that goes a long way. That will take anybody far. I mean, there are, certain, tangible skills. You have to have intelligence and this, that, and the other, but hard work, if you're willing to work hard, people recognize that. People are willing to get behind you and work hard with you, on that aspect. I would say that one. I would say not to accept failure. I think a lot of times, failure is just a way for you to learn. Failure, there are more lessons learned in the failure of an endeavor that you go down than there could be if if it was a successful endeavor, because you could be blinded to those, blinded to the things that could sneak up behind you and get you if you're successful. I think failure is a fantastic learning opportunity, but don't accept failure. If you fall flat on your face, okay, what did I do that tripped me up? I'm going to not do that next time. I'm going to go out and do that better. If you're looking to get into business, I think it's key to have fun. I've been fortunate enough when I was down in North Carolina working with the company down there, we worked hard, but we also played hard. And I think a lot of times we get lost on, sitting down and just, pecking away at the job, all day. And it's almost like we're robotic. And so breaking that up for people. And, we do a good job of, we'll go out and have lunch, or we'll go and do a team building exercise, or we'll do we do a company vacation together. If you can have fun, you can kind of get everybody on board. That's a key thing. We have and I don't know the best way to say to do this, but a key point, additional key point would be consider this like a family. We've done a really good job here of fostering relationships with everyone here. I couldn't tell you of anybody here that doesn't like the other person. There's not a lot of bickering and gossiping and this person said this going around in the company. We get along well. We're like a family. Like I said, we go on vacations together. We have a great time. We sit around the table and and eat meals together and all that kind of stuff. And so personally, on a personal, those are kind of business and personal. I would just say, make sure that you are doing what you're passionate about doing. If you're not passionate, if you don't like your job, if you wake up in the morning and you're like, driving into work and you're grunting and groaning, man, this is going to be a terrible day. This is going to suck. You're never going to be happy. You're never going to find your calling doing anything like that. Be passionate about what you do. Enjoy what you do. There's not a time when I can be stressed out and frustrated, and things coming up, but I'm never just like, oh man, I don't want to work anymore. This doesn't happen. And so be passionate about what you do, enjoy what you do, and the rest will come. You work hard, you be passionate, don't accept failure. The rest should come easily for you.
Good advice. Definitely being passionate about what you do. So now we're going to go into our speed round here. And we're just, I want you to rate 1 to 10, 10 being the most important, 1 being the least important. They could all be 10s, but I just want to go through the different different parts of construction. So with that said, give me a number. Scheduling.
9.
Estimating.
Yeah, 9. See, you're not letting me elaborate, and that's killing me. But I'll
go ahead and elaborate. Go ahead and elaborate.
Well, I don't want to belabor it, but scheduling, obviously we do scheduling. I always lead off my scheduling training by saying that scheduling is the most unimportant document that you can have on your project. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we do a schedule on the very front end, and then we wad it up and throw it in the trash. We do it to satisfy a requirement, and then it gets thrown away. But if you truly use a schedule as it's designed to use, I believe personally, and I don't just say this because we do them, I think it is the most valuable tool that you can have on your project.
Estimating.
9. If your estimate sucks, you're going to lose money, and that's not what you're in the business of doing.
So if your estimate sucks, you suck. Well, you
exactly.
You don't suck too long because you won't be in business.
Exactly.
Contract administration.
8.
I'm giving you a chance to elaborate if you want.
I won't elaborate too much on that one.
Okay. Design.
8. Again, kind of like estimating. If you have a bad design, it's difficult. And I know it firsthand. Like I said, we had over 400 RFIs on one of my projects in North Carolina. A bad design can make for stressful project.
Contracts.
I would give contracts an 8. I think having a solid contract is extremely important. People are sue happy. They're happy to go out and get lawyers. If you can mitigate that risk as much as possible through an ironclad contract, I say that's quite important.
Accounting.
Accounting, I gave a 9, and I gave accounting a 9 because one thing that I have come to realize, being in the role that I'm in now and being, working closer every day with you, is that cash flow is pretty darn important. If, when I first got into the industry, if you would have said how important is cash flow, I probably would have said five, maybe four. But I get it now. I understand it now. It's you got bills to pay, and you got the kind of money going out that we have every week to pay 80 people, and you need cash and a lot of it. And so I've come to realize pretty quickly that that falls heavily on the accounting department, and that they're pretty important for that.
Selling work.
9.
And then the last one, leadership.
Leadership, I gave a 10. I think that that is just crucially important. I think that if you have someone at the helm of the company that is just or not even at the helm of the company, it can be just people in leadership positions. It could be a project manager. But if you have somebody that you're following, that is your boss, that doesn't care, isn't passionate, doesn't take the time to, want to get to know you or want to assist you or want to help you be successful, you're not gonna get behind that person. And if you're not behind that person, you're not on board with the project, and things just can go south quickly.
Well, that kind of wraps up the bulk, and as I always do, I will give you the last word, Matt. I do want to say thank you for. I know this is a little different arrangement, given the fact that I'm part of ACE, but you are a significant figure within construction, especially in the region that we're in. I mean, if you walk around, you talk with people, they know who you are, and they know what you bring to the table. And I thought you had a lot of good advice. Working with you every day over these years, I just thought you have a lot of good advice to give out, because you're one of those, very, very good leaders out there that, has seen a company go from ground up, and very few leaders get to be with a company from ground up and then maintain their senior level in the organization. You have, just because you have that skill set. So I'll thank you for that. And I want to give you the last word.
Okay, I'll just say again, be passionate about what you do. One thing that we didn't quite get to that is a big thing that we do is, I mentioned earlier, is giving back. There's being able to help people, whether it's through your job creation, giving your own funds, whatever it might be, but being able to help people is why we're here on earth. We're all made in the image of one creator, and that is lost a lot in today's political dogma and everything that goes on in the world. But being able to give back and help people is important. And I would say, don't ever forget that. Always remember to do what you can to help people, and be the kind of person that people would want to come to, and would want to get behind, be a beacon of hope for people. So that's about it.
Well, thank you, Matt, for being with us today. Next week on CONEXEC, we'll have another construction executive, and see you next week.